I'm going to make sure that it's linear, and I'm going to name this barrel. What that's going to do is it's going to create a new spline out of that edge. I can now actually remove that edge if I want to. I don't need it. And I'll select our new shape. Now, right now, I have rendering turned on, so it's creating a donut here around our gun. We don't actually want that. I'm going to turn off the renderer. So I now have a spline that is exactly the same shape and size as the unturbo smooth version of the gun. Yeah?
Is this inside of the barrel a bit thicker? Because if you look at the image, you see the very part that connects to the revolver ammo?
The where?
Where the bullets go?
In here?
Yeah, just at the end of the silver lining and black lining.
Yeah.
Isn't that, it's beveled inwards, so would that be the same size as the
This one is beveled inwards, but right here, if you look at the gun here, there's a step down that goes before the barrel.
Okay.
That step down has to be this edge here. So this little edge right here relates to this edge. And where this hole is where that barrel is going to go in. So that barrel actually goes inside this piece back to here, and then it gets smaller and comes out here.
Okay.
So either way, I need this to be a flush fit here.
So there's no gap, or there is?
Yeah, no gap. Right now, it's actually not even the right shape. You can see that it's actually smaller, but it's the same size as this one without the turbo smooth. See now? It's a perfect fit inside there. That's kind of the easy way of doing this. So I'll put the turbo smooth back on so we can see what this is going to look like. And now what I'm going to do is I'll go back to this shape here, and it's a spline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an extrude modifier on this, like so. Doesn't really matter how much I extrude it. Actually, it does. I'm going to reset the X form on this thing and convert it to an editable spline. And now if I put the extrude modifier on it, it's still going straight up. There's no directionality I can do here to tell this shape to go forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this thing 90 degrees, put the extrude on it. Oh, it's still going up. Let's put the reset X form on it. Put the extrude on it so it goes up. Convert it to an editable poly and rotate it back down 90 degrees. So I now have a cylinder inside the hole of the barrel, which is exactly the right size. Now I know at the back, this face has to come out to here. We can't quite see what's going on here, so I'm pretty sure that it's inset a little bit. So we're going to leave it in just a little bit. And then the one in the front, again, if we go to our side view, is going to come out to here, and then it's going to get smaller and then run the length of the barrel. So I'm going to bevel it, kill the height, and bring it forward. I'll kill the thickness, and I'll try and match that angle that's happening here. You can see it's a little extreme. So I'll go back a little bit to about there, and I'll accept that, and then we'll kill the bevel. And now I'll just bring this all the way out to the front of the gun. And now the barrel actually does get smaller all the way through, and so I am going to increase the bevel here too. Now, because the picture isn't perfectly straight, that means that I'm not lined up anymore, and I don't want to change this. I don't want to actually move this. But I do want to try and get it to the right size. And so I'm looking at how far below the image. You can see there's the bottom of the gun here. How much below the image the barrel is and how much above it is. And so I'm kind of in a nice place here. Something like that. So I'll say OK. And now that is going to form the base of the barrel. Now there's a few other things we have to do here to this. Obviously it's going to need an opening, and that opening is going to have to go all the way through. Now I have two different shaped circles here, two different sizes. This one, because of the bevel, is a lot smaller than this one. But I need the hole that runs through the barrel to be perfectly the same size all the way through. there's no bevel on the inside. If there was, the bullet wouldn't actually travel. It wouldn't work, right? The bullet would rattle around in there and actually get lodged in the front. So I now need to find out how big the hole is on a barrel. That's a fairly easy thing to do. So let's look at the size of a .45 caliber bullet. That's what goes in this gun. Well, here's some pretty handy dandy measurements. We can actually find out exactly how big a .45 caliber bullet is. The dimensions from the top to the bottom of this thing are exactly what I need to figure out. Now that image doesn't actually have it, so we'll go to Wikipedia here and see if there's another one. So it does have the sizes here. We're looking for diameters. So here's the base diameters in millimeters. So what I need is this one, 12.2 millimeters. That's the largest size of the bullet. That's the rim down here at the bottom. So 12.2 millimeters. Now do you remember what unit of measurement we're using in max here? I'm sorry?
Is it centimeters?
We're in centimeters. So what's 12.2 millimeters in centimeters?
12
Google it.
centimeters? Is it?
So we need 12.2 millimeters, right?
Or
12.2
is it 1.2 centimeters?
mm in cm. You literally just move the decimal place over, right? It's 1.22. So I'm going to go into my front view here, deselect that, and I'm going to create a cylinder. And I need a 1.22 diameter cylinder. Now the cylinder is measured in radiuses. So I need 1.22 divided by 2, which is going to be 0.61. So if I go in here and I make this radius 0.61, I now have a hole or a shape here that's the right size that I need. Now, do you remember how many edges around our barrel was?
12.
No?
18.
That's okay, we can figure it out. We just hold shift and grab a selection. There are 18 edges. So I'm going to make this new cylinder an 18-edged cylinder as well. And I'm going to align it to this one. Make sure that all of these is correct. And now look, I now have a template for how big to make the hole. So I'll grab this, I'm going to hit F2 so it goes transparent. And now if I inset this, I see exactly how far it should go. Too far. Back there. Now there's a little bit of a gap here. And I could try and get it as exact as I can. You can see I'm actually over a little bit here. If I put a 4 in here, that's too much. Too little. Okay, we'll do that. So that's going to be fairly close. I'm talking about a tenth of a millimeter here. So I've now got, I have 2 here, so we go back to that selection. I've now got that shape, the size that I know it's going to need for the barrel. I can go select that other cylinder I made and delete it. It was just a placeholder. And now I'll grab the barrel and I'm going to extrude it. Not outwards. Don't need a silencer on this thing. But inwards. All the way back here. Now the next thing I need to do is line it up perfectly with the back of this. So what I'll do is I'll select these verts at the back and we'll measure their distance in Y, which is 13.032. I'll grab these ones and paste them at 13.032, making this line up exactly. That's not exact. 032. There we go. That's still not exact. What's going on? Let's make sure that was the right. That was the right. $13.032. And this guy is 13.032. So why do those not line up? Anyway, irrelevant. We'll fix that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete the end cap so I can see right through this thing. And I'll delete the other end cap here as well. So I now have a hole in this thing. I'll isolate this for a moment. So I now have a hole all the way through, but there's no back cap on here. Well, that's real easy. I'll grab these two borders and bridge them. And now I have a hole all the way through my barrel. It's a beautiful thing. So far, so good. We know that it's the right size and shape that it needs to be. We know that it's the right dimensions in the length and in the width. And in terms of detailing, we know that it's going to work out fairly well with what we've got in terms of the shape and size of this thing. So all we got to do now is start adding the details and turbo smoothing it. Now again, if we look at the rifling, as you recall, we were going to be doing 6 different components of the rifling, much like this one. Right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we need them to spiral all the way through. Now, the reason we used 6, or the reason we used 18, is because that is going to line up really nicely with making 6 and then leaving a gap twice as big in between. So that's going to work out really, really, really well. The only issue is that if we go to start twisting this barrel now, so if I grab this edge, and I want to start twisting this to make this the rifling, you can see that it really does start working, right? But if we go all the way around, not doing what we want. Now if we look at the actual rifling, this one starts here and should do a full almost 360 through. That can't happen the way we've got this set up. Right? We only go about 45 degrees or so. This edge is actually the one on the top. So we're going almost 90 degrees and it's already starting to collapse on itself. Now, you guys know why that's happening? Well, there's no proper direction for the path for the edges to travel. So watch this. I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to detach it. Okay, we're going to detach it to a new element, which means now there's actually holes in here, right? It's not welded anymore. There's a hole at the front and a hole at the back. That's good. We want that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab an edge and ring it, and we're going to add some connectors in here. Now the amount of connectors we add essentially doesn't matter. I'm going to add 30. That, as you can see, is a really nice amount that go all the way down. They're evenly spaced too, which is really nice. So I'm going to say OK. And now, again, the problem here is that I can't rotate this. I'll have to use the inner one here because I won't be able to grab the outer one. But again, if I rotate this, we're just rotating that one band, right? And I need my rotation to happen all the way through. So what I'll do is I'll select the outer barrel and I'll detach it as a different piece. And now my barrel is actually just this piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a twist modifier on here. Now the twist modifier is going to allow me to twist this thing all the way down the length of the barrel. Now the angle that we need is shy of 360 if we look at this here, right? 360 would be all the way back around to here. And so it looks like we're actually going 180, right? This is the upper right and this one's in the bottom left. So let's do a rotation angle of 180. Look at that. We now have rifling. You follow the edge that travels all the way around the barrel. Now, it's still, if I convert this to an edible poly, right now there's no smoothing groups on anything, and I make it smooth. I'll attach these things together again here, isolate them, and we'll make this all one smoothing group. Clear all in one. Okay. So if we look at what's going on here, there's rifling in the barrel,